It's true that some things change as we get older. But if you're a woman over 40 and you're dealing with insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. And with MIDI Health, you can get help and stop pushing through it alone. The experts at MIDI understand that all these symptoms can be connected to the hormonal changes that happen around menopause, and MIDI can help you feel more like yourself again. Many healthcare providers aren't trained to treat or even recognize menopause symptoms. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts. They're dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions for dozens of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes. Most importantly, they're covered by insurance. 91% of MIDI patients get relief from symptoms within just 2 months. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
But then if you scout, I get $1.
Yeah, that sounds boring, man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's not boring. It's a fun game.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, guys, what you doing?
Oh, man, it's another failure episode.
That's right. And you know what that means?
What?
We made another museum of failed Eli ideas.
Felt like maybe we did this bit and sort of played it out in the first episode.
No. This is failed podcast ideas.
Oh, they've got you there. You do have a lot of those.
I do.
Yeah.
It's true. I have a lot of those.
Yeah. First up, we got Deck the Hallmarks, where you and Cecil watch a different Hallmark movie for each day in December.
Physically impossible to do.
Okay,
actually.
but it would have been fun.
No,
it
wouldn't
would have been fun.
No.
Definitely not fun. Correct, Cecil. Then, of course, there's Cameo. No, you didn't.
Gary Busey,
Cameo.
Judge Joe Arpaio. How are these not amazing ideas? How do you
It's like
not
a step below YouTube reaction videos, man.
It is not.
And
It is-
of course,
It is.
Incredulous USA, your original idea for this very show.
Still think it was a good idea.
Hey, wait. What's this?
Hmm.
This blank wall with the title DOD? What's DOD?
Oh, that's for a future thing. You don't have to worry about that.
Do you want to do a podcast called DOD?
Maybe at some point. I don't know. I text Noah a lot when I'm high.
Call forward.
Hmm.
I said, let's start the show. Go now.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts because this is the internet and that's how it works now. I'm No Illusions. I'm going to be leading this focus group, but you can't exactly focus group alone. So first up, two men who thought the Power Glove was a way to recapture energy lost to masturbation, Tom and Heath.
Yeah, I've actually got mine hooked up right to the grid. I charge my Tesla twice a day with it.
I gotta go on the wire.
And also joining us tonight, two guys who were legit a little bit offended when I left them out of the masturbation joke, Eli and Cecil.
Well, I mean, why did we even play Ookie Cookie as a cast if who won wasn't going to matter? That's all I'm saying.
Even still, though, Noah, great joke. Gotta hand it to you.
Thank you. And before we get to making fun of other people's failures, we should probably thank the listeners who kept us off of this list. If you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around to the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Tom, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Well, today we'll be talking about failed products. Again.
All right. So, Eli, you initially chose a math-based subject against the emphatic recommendation of both myself and our friend Heath, and then you panicked when you realized it was way too thinky, then you swapped it out at the last second. So, are you ready to pretend this was the plan all along?
I'm an e-reader.
Of course you are. Yes, Eli. So tell us, Eli, you've got two ongoing listicle series now on our podcast that can literally be about anything you want to talk about. How long do we have until your essay is a quiz about which Harry Potter house we belong in?
Okay, I reject your disdain, No Illusions. I reject and I haberdash it.
Your mom is a professional wordsmith. It's in your blood somewhere.
A lot of things are in my blood, mostly cholesterol. No, it doesn't.
Okay, I talk
Not how it
now.
works.
Part 3, Eli, go.
So, as you'll all remember, way back on episode 291
It's
when
not
I
that
was
long ago.
first inspired by the Museum of Failure to tackle this subject. We only made it through 5 of their exhibits, which isn't really that many. Hell, a lot of people would say there are 5 failures on every episode of Citation Needed. So it's my hope here in part 2 to cover even more of them. First up is an old-timey boat wreck, so forgive me, Tom, for stepping into your territory. If you'd like, I can try to work a desperate cry for help into the intro.
No, I only want you to do it if you mean it.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So now, to be clear, if an old timey boat wrecks, that's Tom's thing. But if it just sinks, that's Cecil's thing.
Right, fair. Yeah, good.
Weird ownership we have.
I'm talking, of course, about the Vasa warship.
Of course,
Ooh,
yes.
Built in 1628, the Vasa was one of the first warships with 2 gun decks. Swedish King Gustav Adolphus, who the Swedish have bizarrely decided to historize as Gustav II Adolf, like he's a fucking Fast and the Furious spinoff.
Listen, if you have an alternative to Adolf already ready, use the alternative, man.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yep.
You'd think.
Yep.
Anyways, he had the ship richly decorated with the symbols of his country and himself. However, and I hope this isn't too technical, cannons are fucking heavy, so adding a second floor of them made it way harder to boat. The admiral and the designers knew about this, and they warned the king not to send her out to battle till they got the kinks worked out. But he was like, fuck that, we're fighting Poland, and they set the ship off just days after she was completed.
It sank right the fuck away. It took 2 years to build this thing, and it tipped over and sank fucking immediately, like 5 minutes in to their maiden voyage.
Oh, no.
Mostly because it was built like a giant upside-down sippy cup, which is not great for a boat. And apparently one of my ancestors decided to start drinking right away, grabbed a barrel of grog, and somehow pushed the other barrels, and they all rolled to one side of the ship, which made it even worse.
Yeah, it's a Mr. Bean situation. Quote from the Museum of Failure here. On the way out of the harbor, the wind picked up and the ship foundered. Water rushed through the cannon openings and the ship slowly sank to the bottom. Vasa was an embarrassing failure for the proud kingdom of Sweden, but today the ship now sits in a museum and is one of the country's most visited tourist attractions. And I would have been one of those tourists last month if I hadn't lost my passport. So Heath, how was it?
Your life is a natural series of rolling disasters of your own making, Eli. You know that?
So the museum was actually fun, except for the Swedish math teacher who followed us around, just like naming equations the whole time and fun facts.
Interesting.
It was obnoxious.
I feel like they specified that it sank slowly as a concession to King Adolphus, right? But it could have gone down faster. It wasn't like a stone. No, yeah.
Wait, can we rewind a second? What do you mean that the ship that sank 400 years ago is now in a museum? Did they salvage a 400-year-old failure boat with a 5-minute maritime history?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, and over here is that time we sucked and why you've never heard of the Swedish Navy. That's in their museum.
Yep, nailed it. Got it in one, Tom.
Yep.
All right, let's jump from the past to the sparkling tech of the future. Ever since Tom Cruise ate that yucky sandwich and swooped around some bad guys, screen gesture control of technology has been as synonymous with the future as my suicide. And in 2014, we were told the time had come with the log bar ring.
Oh, Minority Report. I got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I read that paragraph 3 times before I figured that out.
There's no spaces or punctuation, so it's hard.
Yeah, no, there's no punctuation.
I am bell hooked. Now, in spite of being named like a weird euphemism for a turd that won't flush.
It sounds like a gay lumberjack club to me, but go ahead.
That's good too,
Yep,
yeah. The log bar ring promised to
They're
be
going
the
to
gesture
log
control. The log bar ring promised to be the gesture control we were all waiting for. According to its Kickstarter video, you'd be able to change the TV channel with a swipe of your finger. You could write a text message by simply drawing it into the air, or open your music player by sketching out a music note.
What?
All of which take longer than the technology of the time.
Yes.
But that didn't stop them from raising over $1 million.
Jesus.
Hey, man, you texted me .I' again. Just press the fucking play button on the regular remote that you already had to start the music.
I feel like all those fucking voice assistant people need to listen very carefully to this next piece.
Yeah, for sure. So when the product arrived, folks were sorely disappointed. The wireless charger that was promised was not wireless, and the ring was so large that it prevented users from closing their hand or bending their finger while using it.
Jesus Christ. So they repackaged it and sold it to evangelicals as an anti-masturbation device. You just got to roll with what you got.
Exactly. When Business Insider tested one, they found that it only responded 5% of the time. And when their reviewer contacted Logbar to see if they'd gotten a defective unit, he was told that those metrics were, quote, about what you should expect, end quote.
So 1 out of every 20 times you wave your arm like a jackass, something happens. That's like Eli at Katz's Deli.
Yeah, sure.
Or the House taking a floor vote. Yeah.
But it gets worse. See that TV changing thing in the ad? Not in the ring. And when asked, the company said there was never a plan for that to be a part of the product. It was just in the video to show what was possible.
Oh, well, yeah, no, we 100% guaranteed that satisfaction was possible, is what we said. Go back.
But worst of all, on the rare times that the ring did work, it would only do so if the Logbar app was open and running.
What the fuck?
So you couldn't just
What the
do
fuck
the
is what you're
gesture
saying?
to open your camera. You had to open your phone, open the Logbar app, which no, you could not open with just a gesture, and then gesture to open the camera on your phone.
Oh my fucking
made a
God.
ring. We made a ring that allows you to do stuff on your phone with nothing but a swipe of your finger. That's what they did.
So I just say, turn on the light when I walk in the room?
No, you have to alert your digital assistant. You have to call her name and then tell her you want the light turned on. Well, which light you want turned on, and then the light goes on.
Or
what? That's it.
Well, I mean, I could just use my finger and flip this switch just silently, and then I don't have to tell any surveillance robots where I'm at, and that's free. You just do that for free.
Why do you hate the future, Tom?
That's just so fucking disappointing, Noah. It's so fucking disappointing.
It's literally the fight me and my wife have about the lights in our house constantly. Needless to say, people were pretty disappointed. The demand for refunds caused an alteration to Kickstarter's tech policy, and the Logbar is still considered one of the worst products ever to have launched on the platform, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Guys at Gizmodo are like, hey, Phil, does this one go above or below the sex toy that spontaneously combusts after you fart too loudly? Where does this go?
I don't want to
Spoilers.
go below that.
More kink shaming season. Wow.
It's been intimated on the meaner spirited episodes of this program that I spoil my beautiful pug, Marjorie Tyrell Bosnick. Nonsense, of course. She's a queen and we treat her like one. Just because she has more health insurance than Cecil doesn't mean she's spoiled.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. No, continue on. You have more lines there.
I
before
do.
someone
Sorry.
else interjects.
Just
Doesn't
because she
Cecil
has
get Medicaid?
yeah. Just
Couple
because she has
years,
more-
Heath. A couple years.
Any minute now.
Cobra, thank you.
Cobra, yeah. Just because she has more health insurance than Cecil doesn't mean she's spoiled, just loved. But believe me or not, at least I'd never buy her our next failed product. Thirsty Dog and Thirsty Cat. Bottled flavored water for pets.
Flavor. Yeah, because if there's one thing a species that needs to be constantly discouraged from drinking out of the toilet needs, is somewhere to cater to their discerning beverage palate.
Exactly.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So, according to the marketing, Thirsty Dog and Thirsty Cat contain spring water fortified with vitamins and minerals. And they were intended to replace the ordinary poor people water in your pet's bowl. The water was available in 2 flavors, crispy beef flavor for dogs and tangy fish flavor for cats.
Oh my God.
Well, they love drinking out of the
flavor?
aquarium, yes.
To revisit what Noah said, it feels like a waste by the marketing department. Dogs would be cool with Neighbor's dog's asshole flavored water.
Right, but that's a weird day when you make that water yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
No,
somebody
it's
needs
fair.
to provide that product. Also, Eli would definitely buy the highborn water for Madge, for sure. The moment he said poor people water just now, he made a mental note to himself.
He did.
I'm
He
certain
did.
of it.
Yeah, also, I'm not a dog, but I am someone that likes beef. And that doesn't mean I want my water to be beef flavored.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just
And while the products didn't last, the idea still lives on. As the Museum of Failure points out, an Australian company now sells Pet Pops, a vitamin-enriched soda pop for your pet. So
Christ.
if you're begging for a beverage for your buddy, there's still a chance.
yeah, my cats literally eat the exact same food and water every single day, and they still throw up at least once a week. You're going to have to excuse my lack of excitement at the idea of adding fucking bubbly water into their equation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Stain comes out
I think
easier
you should
though.
feed them
you know?
something else.
Like-
It sounds like.
It's on sale.
But enough about our furry buddies. What about something for your flesh kids? A phrase I say freely on this podcast, even though it lost me my job at Chuck E. Cheese. To introduce our next failure, 2014's My Friend Kayla. Now, Kayla was an internet-connected doll that used speech recognition to communicate with children. She could tell stories, carry on basic conversations, and even look up information. And commercially, it was a huge success. The doll was named the most innovative toy of the year and sold a buttload. Where it failed was in having any security or privacy whatsoever.
Oh my God.
Caleb recorded and uploaded what Daddy was doing to Mommy last night.
Yeah. So the product is ridiculously easy to hack. Having control over the wireless network Kayla was connected to gives you complete control over everything she said and did, but it also gave you access to everything she recorded,
Holy
which
shit.
was everything that happened around her.
Oh my God.
But even worse, if you just attached her to your phone, she functioned as an unprotected Bluetooth wireless speaker.
Okay, that's terrifying. Can you imagine having a device that can spy on you all the time and it has a microphone and a camera?
And a camera. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it turns out that the thing that Orwell had the most wrong was that they weren't going to charge us for those telescreens. He thought those would be free.
And that was just the illegal stuff. Parents were horrified to learn that the parent company, Genesis Toys, harvested and sold data on what was said to and around the toy, though Genesis denies this ever happened. In Germany, parents were instructed to destroy the device as it violated a national espionage law. And last but not least, she turned out to be a shill. Without notifying customers, several companies, including Disney, bought ads on Kayla, which meant she would speak highly of their products and sometimes ask the child if they could watch a Disney movie together.
Oh my
Okay,
fucking
and the
God.
spying device that had a microphone and a camera had ads too? This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
One last failure before...
Speaking of which, if you're looking for a VPN, check out nordvpn.com/citation.
They haven't ponied up the dough yet. Let's wait.
That's not actually an advertisement.
No.
One last failure before we head into the commercial break. And this one is a gift for Dad. Because after all, what's the worst part about golfing?
Golfing.
That's right, Tom. Golfing. But if you like golf, it's...
Golfers.
Sure, but if you like them too, it's tossing back brews on the links with the boys, only to have to scamper back to the clubhouse to pee. Enter 2008's
Okay, I don't like where
Euro
this is going.
Club. A
Come
quote,
on.
No.
cleverly disguised urinal that looks like a
No.
golf club.
Oh, for
Just
fuck's-
unscrew the watertight cap,
Nope.
slip your penis into the tip with the use of the patented privacy towel and scream, "I'm not fucking my golf club. I'm peeing into it. I'm an adult who made this purchase on purpose." End quote.
Jesus. Feels like a water hazard. I don't know.
Okay, but it's easy to take a one-stroke penalty at that point.
Hey, so what's the shot here? Pissing wedge?
And while it might have failed us as a species, the Euro Club, much like Kayla, did not fail financially. Urologist Dr. Floyd Seskin invested over $300,000 in the Euro Club. And
Into a hollow tube?
Yep, that has a golf club at the end.
And a patented towel they
yeah,
invented.
now I'm
towel.
stupid.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm the
And
stupid
Privacy
in
one.
towel.
2009, Kevin Harrington invested another $25,000 on an episode of the TV show Shark Tank. They even had a late night infomercial.
Yeah, before
It's
you watch it,
amazing.
let me tell you, there has to be a better way. B-roll is disturbing in this one.
And Shark
don't
Tank,
like it.
Mark Cuban had to take a break from fucking the Dallas Mavericks to fuck this golf club. So
Okay, my favorite part is the privacy towel.
Yes.
Before that got added, people were like, hey, are you fucking your golf club? But now it's like, am I fucking my golf club? Who knows? Next hole. This is proprietary technology.
Yes, but best of all, you can still buy a Euro Club today for just $25 at euroclub.com. They didn't sponsor this episode, but I have a feeling they should have.
Yeah, right? All right. Well, while the rest of the cast and I look into whether we can buy a microphone you can shit into to cut our record times in half with Eli, we're going to take a quick break for a little apropos of nothing. What do you guys say? Is here fine?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks to Alan's drive, I thought my cart was going to run out of gas before we caught up to the ball.
Right?
Tell me about it. What's your secret, man? Every time I try to add power to my drive, I slice.
You slice it, right? Okay. Well, the thing is, it's probably your grip or your or your stance. You got to focus on keeping your lead arm straight. Make sure your grip isn't too tight. Sorry. Are you peeing right now?
Oh, yeah, this is the Euro Club. Do you not have one of these? Oh, they're a lifesaver.
I do not. No.
Oh, actually, excuse me, this is a two-piper.
Yeah, I used to have the same slicing issue, and it was because I was over swinging. Sometimes it's not about power, but about rhythm and timing. Have you tried the new Titleist Pro V1s?
Sorry. Are you shitting into your golf club right now?
It's called a dump drive. Another thing you might consider is your club head speed. Sometimes it's not about how hard you hit, but how smoothly
Is nobody
you
else
swing.
seeing this?
Yeah, and also, have you thought about getting a swing analysis done? Some of those launch monitors can be really insightful.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Guys, we are adults playing a sport for fun. We don't need to fill our golf bags with urine and feces. Just go to the bathroom at the clubhouse like adults. Ridiculous.
Be those geezers everybody's got to play through? No way, man.
Okay, well, I'm going to go. This is insane. Insane.
Dude, did you guys see that?
What's that?
He didn't replace his divot.
Fucking disgusting.
And we're back. That sketch is the funniest we're ever going to get, guys. We have peaked. That was it. I hope you enjoyed it. We will soldier on regardless, though. So, Eli, tell us about some more failures, if you would.
All right. Fashion, like which of the hosts on this podcast is the least attractive, can be subjective.
I feel like there's a pretty well-established list on that.
But our next couple of products were pretty obvious misses. Beginning with the Nike Magneto. The pitch was simple. Eyewear that athletes could wear without bulky goggles or headgear that looked cool and could be taken on and off with ease. All you had to do? Super glue some magnets onto your face.
What?
And after you tear open several holes in your face trying to take those off, just shove the Nike endodermic face magnet right into the wound. Perfect. Just listen to all the happy customers. This is worth it, I guess. Fuck.
That's right. The Magneto line of eyewear clipped directly onto magnets on your face. Now, to be fair to Nike, all the copy they had planned for the product recommended taping the magnets in place. But most sources agree that glue was going to be the way to go.
Yeah, just don't do anything that would make you sweat while playing in our sports equipment, and you'll be
Yes.
all set.
And they almost made it to market. They had several athletes racing in them ahead of product launch. Promotional photos were taken, but according to Trevor Edwards, Nike's VP of Global Brand Management, it was on the advice of Steve Jobs, who listeners will remember giving the ESPN phone from the first episode in this series, The Kibosh, that they suggested that they shelved the product. And when they did, Edwards told Fast Company, quote, "Sometimes ideas are before their time," end
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah, sometimes they're well ahead of their time. Think of the sales with medieval knights right in the fucking helmet.
Yeah, no, I'm imagining some poor Nike intern rushing into the room. His face is almost entirely obscured behind paper clips and staples and safety pins and shit. He's like, hey guys, I noticed a problem. I would have been here sooner. But it took me a while to get away from the fridge. It was and it slid. When I slid, it made more sense. It was easier.
Next up, we have the 2004 creation, the Oakley Thump. Oakley, the chief eyewear provider for off-duty cops and guys who tweet racist stuff at Barack Obama, created a new product category that they called digital music eyewear. The Thump was a pair of sunglasses with a built-in MP3 music player, and its advanced design allowed for the shades to flip up for use indoor.
Yeah, and also in the everything old is new again category, we can enter the Bose Tempos, which are pretty much exactly this, with somehow even less design sense. Actually,
I may or may not own those. And while the sound quality was apparently impressive, the price tag was not, at just over $500. And that's in 2004 dollars.
Wow.
Yeah, but regular Oakley sunglasses were already insanely priced, weren't they? Wasn't that?
That's
their
true.
thing?
That's true. They cost any amount of money, so they are insanely
Yeah.
priced. The glasses were panned, especially hard in Engadget and Gizmodo, the former of which dedicated an entire article to the failures of Oakley, like as a company, and the latter awarded the Thump a position in their Worst Gadgets of the Decade article.
Huh.
Cecil, you and Sarah ever do any remote control vibrator stuff?
Yeah, we recorded on a humping Kayla doll. We sent it to
fair enough.
all over the place.
Well,
Good
then
stuff.
you might want to give the 2014 Wii Vibe a try.
I already own one.
According to their copy, quote, with the Wii Vibe vibrator and the Wii Connect app, you can experience intimacy without being in the same country, control vibrations and adjust intensity from a smartphone.
Wow, how could that go wrong? I mean, right.
Enjoy sex via a video call or let your partner control the vibrator during a dinner at a fine restaurant. Your fantasy is the only
Or
limitation.
Applebee's.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that fine.
The fine
It could be McDonald's drive-through is fine, you know?
Yeah, right?
Your fantasy is the only limitation, end quote. And they meant it because privacy sure as fuck wasn't. The Canadian company that made the product ended up paying $3.75 million in lawsuits for secretly collecting and selling information about the date and time of each use, vibration intensity, vibration mode, and the temperature of the product's environment.
Whoa.
Oh,
Jesus.
Oh.
Okay, there's got to be a listener right now who had a My Friend Kayla as a kid, and then they had this like dronism vibrator as an adult, being like, thank you. I'm having the worst luck with these things. This is crazy.
You know, I do like fine dining and all, but so many of them just don't live up to the buzz.
You know, it's crazy. Actually, I did own one of these, but I'm constantly getting these advertisements in the mail for jackhammers. It's like constant.
Speaking of what goes on inside the Vajooch, our next product was a doozy for the Vajoozy. I'm talking, of course, about the 1978 Procter & Gamble product, Rely Tampons, which sported the catchphrase, "It even absorbs the worry."
Cool. Tampons made of cotton and Xanax, I'm guessing.
I'm going to let the Washington Post take over. Quote, instead of the cotton and rayon found in other tampons, Rely was fully synthetic, comprised of a water-loving, hyperabsorbent food-grade thickener called carboxymethylcellulose, also known as cellulose gum. It's a commonly used substance. It's in your ice cream, your toothpaste, and at least in the 1970s, it was in your tampons, end quote.
I'm trying to picture this idea happening. Procter & Gamble engineers, they're like staring at a tampon. One guy's eating an ice cream cone. They slowly line up next to each other at the perfect angle.
Right,
One guy,
right.
hold on.
Yeah. No, they tried basing one of those "you got your chocolate and my peanut butter" type ads on this, but thankfully that never got past the radio station. Very
The Post continues,
disturbing.
quote, with a forward-thinking shape that opened into a cup inside the vagina, coupled with the capacity to absorb a significant amount of fluid, the Rely appeared to herald a new era of tampons. Unfortunately, the product was fraught from the start. First, there were issues relating to how the hyperabsorbency of Rely tampons could overdry the naturally humid environment of the vagina, desiccating the delicate organ to the point at which removal of the tampon could tear away some of the vaginal wall, causing ulcerations and easy access to the body for lingering microbes. Then,
What do you mean then? Why would there need to be a then, Eli?
you'd think, yes. Then there was the question of the old bacterial buffet, the fluid in the tampon acting as a surfeit of food available to both native and introduced microbiota. End quote.
And that tampon of desiccation's name? Ben Shapiro.
Enter toxic shock syndrome. In May of 1980, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reported 55 cases of toxic shock syndrome, an illness characterized by a high fever, a sunburn-like rash, low blood pressure, failures or abnormalities in multiple organ systems, and, at the end of the illness, a dramatic desquamination, or peeling, of such areas as the hands and feet.
Jesus, what?
Cases continued to mount. A follow-up report in June identified continuous usage of tampons during the menstrual period as a risk factor for developing TSS, and a further study identified a link between the ultra-absorbent Rely tampon and the outbreak of cases. The public was alerted to the dangers posed by using Rely tampons, and in September, Rely was removed from American store shelves. And the sharp spike in TSS cases that started its climb when the products came to market 2 years earlier dropped as steeply as it had risen. That year, there were more than 800 cases of toxic shock syndrome reported to the CDC, end quote. The event was so traumatic that the specter of toxic shock syndrome still lingers over tampon users today. I mean, hell, it's one of the two things guys know about them besides that you put them in your butthole. If you found that last story traumatizing, don't worry. From 1983 to 2007, you could go through a completely ineffectual form of therapy known as psychological debriefing. You see, after a traumatic experience, there's a risk that some people will develop a psychological problem, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, or as Tom calls it, too much ghosts in your blood. And
I would say
debriefing-
too many ghosts.
That's fair. In psychological debriefing was the theory that you could get a bunch of people who just went through similar trauma
Holy shit.
and have them talk about their thoughts and feelings. And hard as it may be to believe, how did everyone feel about the car crash they were just in was not a particularly healthy mental exercise. Studies of the people who experienced the 2001 terrorist attacks in New York showed that the method was not only ineffective, it actually increased the risk of PTSD and depression among trauma survivors.
So immediately reliving the trauma from a bunch of different angles harmed them, you're saying. That's so
I know. But don't worry, psychological debriefing is no longer practiced and condemned by most major psychiatric organizations, but there will still always be Facebook fan groups and ceaseless inbox. Sometimes it's not the product that's the problem, but the branding, which brings me to our final 3 failures on this week's show. If you're a middle-aged dad with too many books about World War II, you already know about the Swedish company Bofors, who provided, and in some cases still provide, anti-aircraft guns for some of the most powerful warships in the world. But in 1968, the Giant Guns Company took a crack at toothpaste.
Okay, same engineers. Okay, we killed a bunch of people with toxic shock with that last thing. Hold up something else, because that was cool how we did the thing. I don't know, toothpaste? Maybe just move it slowly towards something else.
Yes.
We got this.
So
Guns?
Yeah. So Bofors toothpaste contained artificial sweeteners and microplastic beads as a mild abrasive. By 1971, unfounded rumors spread alleging that the beads would remain in the body for months with catastrophic results. Bofors issued a public statement that the only product their company made that remained in the body was explosive shrapnel. But they scrapped the product and went back to making boat guns.
These idiots think the constant ingestion of microplastics is going to cause them harm. Dumbasses.
On the other side of the Freaky Friday vase is Colgate, the toothpaste company, not the safety school for lesbians. They launched a line of frozen foods, at least according to the Museum of...
You went to NYU.
Yeah, exactly. A hard school for lesbians to get into. At least
Pretty much the same as Colgate.
according to the Museum of Failure, they did. When the news reported on their exhibit, which contains a box for Colgate beef lasagna, Colgate called the museum to complain, saying that nobody at the company could recall such a product ever being produced. Director of Corporate Communications for Colgate Palmolive told Prospect Magazine, quote, There was no Colgate lasagna. The product image shown in the link you provided was something made up by the museum to illustrate something that never existed. When I researched this question years ago, I found no evidence of Colgate kitchen entrees, end quote.
Also, there's nothing wrong with our microplastics. They're awesome.
Yeah. But the reporters at the Prospect actually disagreed. Quote, this Television Age magazine profile of Colgate-Palmolive from 1966 mentions that in 1961, a man named George Henry Lesh became the new chairman and president of the company, this expansion being his main task. The article reads, quote, a line of dried chicken and crab meat entrees under a Colgate kitchen label was introduced and quickly withdrawn. An apple chip called Snapples had been tested off and on over a 2-year period, and 1 or 2 other food items are at various stages, end quote.
And if the dried chicken and crab meat doesn't sell, we can always turn it into a delightful cat soda.
Exactly. Right. It continues, quote,
Why wouldn't they just change the name of the food part of the company?
Just
yeah,
just
make
be like
other stuff.
Yep, you can have other names. It's
Bill's
weird.
Food. Yeah.
People love our
It continues,
toothpaste.
quote, these same chicken and crab meat entrees are referred to more specifically in a weekly digest from the American Institute of Food Distribution, which in 1966 claimed that a range of 5 products were test marketed in 1964, but only in Madison, Wisconsin, and then were withdrawn a year later. When presented with this smoking gun, Diapaza, that's the guy that said they weren't real earlier, replied, quote, where are you headed with this? An article? For whom? Before closing off communications and saying, there was a period in our history when Colgate-Palmolive was a conglomerate with a very diverse array of businesses, including a number of food companies, end quote.
Well, that's the thing you did not. So, okay, so if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would it be?
The Colgate crab conspiracy goes all the way to the top.
All right, and are you ready for the quiz?
Ready for part 3.
All right, Eli, we did not spend nearly enough time shitting on golf. Why not? A, well, we would run the risk of insulting golfers who would chase us down with a series of piss-filled metal sticks while wearing stupid fucking pants. Or B, because there is no sufficiently poetic and vitriolic combination of words in any language that has ever been written or assembled that can possibly come close to conveying how much golf sucks.
It's so relaxing. And
There's
I
no,
like
you're
golf.
wrong. You're just wrong about what you like.
I don't like being outside. Cecil, thoughts on golf? round
I got a
table?
different question. All right.
Okay.
What's the best tasting dental food item? A, graham cracker crest. B, hollandaise floss. C,
Excellent.
cream of brushroom soup. Or D, whitening strip steaks.
Ooh. I got to give that one to Graham Cracker Crest.
Maybe? Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure thing.
Awesome. All right, so Eli, you just said that the question of branding led you to quote our final 3 failures on this week's show, and then you only added 2 more things, and then the essay ended. This is because A, the attempt at a math-based episode used up all your counting skills for the month. B, you exist on some 7th dimensional plane where things come lastly several times in a row. The last 3 things are sometimes only 2 things, and you need to be periodically reintroduced to shows that you're already on. C,
Eli's a Tralfamadorian for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
C, the final failure was such a fucking failure it failed to even make it on the show. Or D, you were making a meta commentary about how this quiz segment's formatting is the final failure of the episode.
Ooh, well, the first 2 were too truthful and true. So I'm going to go with D, that one where I'm smart.
It is D, and that is what you meant.
I'm an
yes.
e-reader.
It was you forgot.
I'm a
It was you
D-reader.
forgot. Okay. Eli, what's the best line of sports equipment for shitting during the game? A, Blunder Armor. B, Reebok Dumps. Or C,
Yes.
2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Got to give that one to Reebok Dumps. Reebok Dumps all the way.
No, I'm sorry. It was clearly 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Oh,
Yeah,
Nice,
I thought that
nice.
was pretty obvious myself. All right, so it looks like our winner this week is Heath.
All right. Next week, let's hear some information from Thomas.
All right. Well, for Cecil, Heath, Eli, and who's the other guy? Tom.
I love you too, Noah. That's great.
Yep. Let me try that again. All right. Well, for Cecil, Eli, Heath, and Tom, I'm Noah. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Tom's going to be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can check out all of our other shows where you check out our other shows. And if you want to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod or leave a 5-star review everywhere you can. If you want to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
Hey, listeners, if you liked any of those podcast ideas from the beginning sketch, my December is actually looking pretty clear. So if we all get
Eli,
together,
you will physically die if you start another fucking podcast.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of Christmas movies.
Stop. Don't encourage him. Don't stop encouraging him.